Size matters. Size matters. Size matters.
Coal Country 96.5.
A change made to the Clean Water Act of 1977 allowed mining companies to dump waste into waterways. This change brought forth a new type of coal mining. Mountaintop removal is a destructive form of strip mining which utilizes explosives to remove the tops of mountains. Once these mountaintops are disassembled, heavy machinery pushes the excess debris into valleys, which in turn changes a mountainous landscape into a flat terrain. Mountaintop mining advocates believe not only that such practices create jobs, but that the leftover terrain creates opportunities for flourishing environmental and economic prospects. The stories you are about to hear are the unfabricated accounts of real people living in the midst of mountaintop removal.
Coal mining pays my living right now. I am not against coal mining, but I think all coal mining should be responsible mining. I don't think it should be done like it is now. Mountaintop removal is the worst thing that I have ever seen in all my life, and I'm 76 years old. I have never seen anything that can destroy so much territory and so many people and so much property in my life as mountaintop removal is doing. It needs to be abolished.
Three days in a row to get my granddaughter out of school from being sick, and I was called back the second day, and when you go to get a child out of school you have to sign them out. There's a sign out book there, and when I went to sign her out I noticed that there were several kids absent from that school. But it was actually the third day that is what got me moving to help these kids. I went down and picked her up again around the same time, and I signed her out, and I really flipped some more pages back and seen that it was an ongoing thing, that the kids was sick. And as we left the school, you have to turn right back up Route 3, and all the coal mines and slurry pond and everything is over to the right of the river there behind the school. And I looked over to make sure she had her seatbelt on, and I seen she had a real discolored to her. Her nickname, I call her Possum, and I hollered at her. I said, "Possum, buddy," I said, "you know, are you okay?" And she turned and looked at me, and she had tears coming down her face. And she said, "Gramps," she said, "these coal mines are making us kids sick." And from that day on, I mean, it really hurt me, and I swore from that day on, whatever it would take to move them children away from this site, or to get that site closed down, to whatever it took, what means it took. You know, I pretty much vowed from that day on to help them children down at Marsh Fork School. And that's pretty much what got me started into it. I actually worked there on that site for about 3.5 years. I'd worked on that site off and on, and it never dawned on me before, you know, that I was actually setting up something that would possibly kill my granddaughter one day. and it was really hard on me. It really hit home with me, and I never made the $13.50 before, and I never had a medical card before I was badly needing, and I was blinded. Well, all this dust from this slate is blowing down on that school, and getting into the air intake vents and things, and these kids are breathing that. So they're breathing the chemicals there, and then they put a silo in behind the school, and coal dust is bad enough for a human. Then you've got the silicate dust. Silicate dust gets into the small portions of these little kids' lungs. It cuts. It cuts their lungs up, and they don't have a chance. These kids, in no way, shape, or form, this should have never happened to these kids. And we know of 3 people, children that have died, never made it past high school with leukemia. We got 3 teachers from that school that says, that we'd found out that died from cancer.
What they're doing to the mountains now, it impacts the water quality, the air quality, wildlife habitat, and deterioration of the soil and destruction of the timber. And when that's gone, what we got left?
The grass that they're planting here, actually, that's about all that'll grow here. And it's not much. Deer don't like it. There's nothing can benefit from it at all. And to try to plant something else in here to get it to grow, there's actually not enough dirt to do anything. It's actually solid rock.
You see, used to what they're supposed to do, when there's a strip mine, they'd take and stack the topsoil up. They'd push it off to one side and stack it up. And then when they filled it back in, they'd put the subsoil in first and have the topsoil on top. But they don't do that anymore. They just push it off and they push it all in. And a lot of times the subsoil, this stuff you see right here, is what's pushed on the top. Well, it'd take thousands, hundreds, maybe 1,000 years for this to ever come back to good topsoil again.
More to live on, and they bring in this what they call a Jimson grass. It's not even native to this part of the world, and all it does is got a good root system to it. Is the reason they plant that, and it turns pretty and green. Well, nothing lives in it, nothing will eat it, and that's about the only thing that'll grow on these sites. I've seen them plant these pine trees back, and I'm not even sure what type they are. They'd put seedlings in, and some of them I know is 20 years old now, and probably not over 4 foot tall.
Trees won't grow on a place like this. I mean, you need leaf mold and stuff like that to grow. Well, there's certain types of trees. You got to play pine or something like that, but oak, beech, poplar, maple, and hickory and stuff like that won't grow in a place like this. There's certain types of herbs and certain types of animals that cannot survive without the canopy of the forest. And you hear an awful lot of people talk about endangered species, both plants and animals. If this trend continues as it is, us human beings are going to be the ones on the endangered list.
There's just that many bear up here, and where they at? You don't see nothing no more.
Used to have small game that I hunted for was squirrel and rabbit and raccoon and grouse, quail, but naturally there's no squirrel here now. There's no groundhogs up here now. And there's no and the grouse won't live out where there's no timber.
On these reclaims, we got a lot of it, and it looks like you could benefit from it, but all they're actually putting on them is a few golf courses, and that they're making racetracks, and they're doing a lot of places for Walmarts, and I just don't understand how many of them we need. If we could benefit from this in such a way, it would maybe justify a little bit, but there's nothing good about this. It's field land. If you was to build homes on it, you would have a lot of foundation problems. It's constantly sinking, and it's just no good.
I just can't. I can't co-op with this modern way of life anymore. It's hard for me to. I like to go back to live the way I was raised to live, eat and cook and work like I used to. But that's vanishing away.
So, I'm trying to tell you, the one thing that people don't understand, destroying these mountains like they're doing, they're destroying a whole way of life. That they now tell me this land is worth $450 million to the coal company. Now mind you, they offered us $140,000. They did not offer us $1 million an acre. And you know something? It wouldn't have bought it anyhow. It's why I'm telling you, what do you have so dear to you that's not got a price on it? We've had this land in my family for 220 years. We got a cemetery up on top, has 300 or more graves in it. We got one on the Stover Cemetery, my great-great-grandparents, on the mine site. We actually have, and Hillary's been there and she's seen this, we actually have mine cracks as wide as this table going through the graveyard. We have a headstone, then we have a crack going through the grave and there's no remains there. We have a high wall about 200 feet infringing on the cemetery. You can see the caves where they're drawing the coal out. But you know, they're not just drawing the coal out. They're pouring my people out as well. We talk about the mountain, we talk about the topsoil. People say, what do they do with the topsoil? They say that we bring them back, we haul the topsoil away, we bring it back. You know, my people are the topsoil. We have cemeteries all through these mountains. They're not just rolling the topsoil under, they're rolling my people under. That lady from Boston asked me, she says, doesn't the coal company have any respect for the dead? People, they don't have no respect for the living.
So I've lived in Sylvester 55 years, and that's my life. This is off of my front porch. And we did this, like I said, for 2.5 years, did our wipes. Now this is what we're breathing 24 hours a day. Should anybody have to live in this? And you know, it's like I said, that's my life, 55 years living there. And you know, a lot of people say, why don't you move? How do you move? I mean, you're going to get up and you're going to sell your home for nothing and you're going to move? They're not going to loan us money at our age. We're too old. And right now, my home is worth $12,000. It was appraised $144,000. It's depreciated $132,000. Now I'm sitting in a home now that's worth $12,000, which is not enough to bury me. I thought it would be inheritance for my girls. If I would get sick or something had happened, they won't loan me money. It wouldn't even stand up for collateral now.
Well, they own the coal under my property, under the most of it. They own it, but we got a law passed in 1988 that they cannot mine it without my permission. Of course, I can't keep it either, but I can keep them. So far, I can keep them from mining it. And yeah, they have talked to me some about it, but
We're not ready to go. I'm not going nowhere, and I know quite a few other people it's not going nowhere. We refuse to be pushed out of this valley, and we're not going to stand for it. We're not for sale, and neither is our land, and neither is our lives.
it was blasting about 2 weeks ago when I was in my house. It shook me pretty hard. Well, I got pretty mad, and I got out and drove over to their office. I was going to take a pretty bad spell on them, but when I got in there, they talked so nice that I kind of calmed down a little, you know. And they said it's a mistake, they done it as an accident, they deceived.
The largest non-nuclear blast since World War II. And you wonder how they get rocks over my place like that. And then they drop the mountains as fast as they have. I've only managed to save 50 acres here, and they have destroyed 500,000. 7,538 acres immediately around me right now.
You know, a lot of times when I bring people back here to show them this strip mining, I try to make a parallel between where it's been stripped here and then look at the land over here where it's not been stripped.
And it was said to me, in this sense, that it is acceptable collateral damage to lose some people so others can live in the custom that they're used to living in. I gotta tell you people, I'm not acceptable collateral damage. My people are not acceptable collateral damage. Who has the right to pick who lives and who dies? My people are just as important as anybody else. These coal fields, the people who live here, they live here because they want to. They wasn't put here. We want to be here. Let me tell you now, I'm not collateral damage. I don't know about you or anybody else, but we as a civilization do not have the right to pick people who lives and dies so others can live in comfort. We don't have that right.